Today is Saturday. It is my grandpa's 90th birthday. I have had a lovely day and I did want to kick off this next week. I know that the days that I post this are just a jumbled mess, but maybe we'll become organized, maybe. But I wanted to check in. I picked up Kingdom Animalia today. I mean, it's just a great name for a book, and also the author, her name is Aracelis Girmay, or Girmay. I bet it, Girmay, probably. I just love that name too. So she's got a great name in and of herself, and then the title of her book is just killer. So I am reading this today. I'm gonna try to finish this before my pa's birthday. We're going to his house just before 5 and it's about 3:30 Mountain Standard Time. I've lost about an hour here, which is a little weird. I'm still in Oklahoma time. But yeah, I was just checking in. I am gonna do a little bit of a time lapse here. And yeah, I think that's it. Today is Monday, so this is the last time I posted was a little over a week ago. Last week I was in transition, so I flew back to, you can tell I'm a little ill too. I have a bit of a cold, which is actually not a little annoying, super annoying. But I flew back to Oklahoma last Monday, and the last time I posted was a week from Saturday, I think, or a week from Friday. So I think it's been about a week and a half. Anyway, my grandfather's birthday party was lovely. He had a great time. He turned 90, so it was really, really fun. And then on Sunday, I spent more time with my family before I left. And then Monday, I flew back to Oklahoma. And I got in around I think 1 or 1:30 in the morning, which was really late. Tuesday, I went to the university and did reading. I did the same on Wednesday. Tuesday and Wednesday, I worked really late until I worked from, about mid-morning until 10:30, 11:30 at night. And then Thursday, I worked during the day, and some of my friends were going out to the bar, and so I went out with them. And I think that's what started this, because I don't drink that often, and we were out very late. And so I think that my immune system was like, nope. But all that being said, I have been working on my stuff. I'm about halfway through 4 different theoretical texts, and so I'm gonna try to finish those today. I'm giving myself tomorrow, but I would rather finish them today because really I wanted to get caught up on the theoretical readings. I apologize, I'm a little tired. It is early. It's almost 8:30. I guess it's not that early. Hobbs is gonna come and inspect and see if I'm doing an okay job. So, but I'm about halfway through Ordinary Affects. No, go, get down. I'm halfway through Ordinary Affects by Kathleen Stewart. This is a really interesting book. She basically, it's a bunch of very short stories, and I think the whole point is to show
how ordinary interactions between people, random or familial or familiar, can become affects, and how an affects function within a conversation, an interaction, an event, an activity, whatever. So it's super interesting, and I also think it's really interesting, or it's good to read this collection, because I'm thinking about how poetry is affective, not only for the writer. I think that there's a level of affect for the writer of the piece and for the reader of the piece, because depending on what the poem is about, that is going to invoke a different type of reaction or emotion or affect from the writer and the reader. So that one's really interesting. The transmission of affect is how like a group of people feel the same, seemingly like due to like some sort of provocation, I guess you could say, which is so funny because I could see how this was connecting to my work and my research, but I wasn't convinced it was going to be necessary. And then this morning when I was laying in bed, I don't know if you guys do this, but when I lay in bed, I either dream of what I'm reading, like my brain keeps working, right? So I'm either dreaming about what I'm working on, or my brain is connecting pieces like in my dreams of what I'm working on. And so the transmission of affect this morning when I was dreaming was like I was working on this. And so there's been a rise in eco-poetics over the past however many decades, right? I mean, like, there's been a lot of nature poetry since the mid-19th century, and even before then, right? Nature's always been in words. However, this shift of how nature poetry is being written is more contemporary, or more like post-contemporary, I guess you could say. So that is kind of like a transmission of how this affective work is affecting writers and therefore readers. Then I think one of my books is upstairs. Oh, here's another one. No, that's not it. So I'm also reading, I don't know where they are, I'll go find them, but this Compost by Jed Rasula. They always have to fight right when I have this on. But this Compost by Jed Rasula is an interesting collection. I'm also, oh my god. Stop. Knock it off. You guys get to see my pajamas first thing in the morning. Oh, my new sweater. It's so cute. It says Utah, which I felt like such a, I really haven't owned anything Utah since I lived in Utah, or since I moved out of Utah. And now that I've been out of Utah for, I'm going on 6 years, I'm like, I should own a Utah sweater. Excuse me. So this Compost by Jed Rasula, he talks about how, like, he starts in the 19th century. I actually think he pulls stuff from the 18th century, but he's talking about how older work composts into newer work. And it's an interesting idea, but I don't think he's going to be one of my primary texts that I pull from. I'm still pretty stuck on Jonathan Bate, Sharon Lattig. I'm reading the Franken Wilson. Oh, that's the other one that I'm reading. It's Franken Wilson's Silvan Tomkins Handbook reader for affect. And I think that's going to be a primary text. And then I'm thinking about poetic texts. And I still have more affect texts to read through. But yeah, I don't think that Rasula is going to be, I mean, I might. I'm more than halfway through on him. I think I'm about 3/4 of the way through. And there might be something in there that I pull from, but it's all right, you know? Like, it's interesting, but it's also just all right. And then the Franken Wilson Silvan Tomkins reader is basically a book that Franken Wilson have put together. I think it's Adam Franken, Elizabeth Wilson. They've put together to make Silvan Tomkins, who is one of the, I guess you could consider him one of the grandfathers of affect theory. He was working through the early, mid, and not really late 20th century, but he was the one who was really diving into it alongside, I can't remember the other theorist right now. I'll come back to it. Starts with an S. But, and then there's other theorists too who were working within affect theory throughout that. But I believe Silvan Tomkins was kind of like the one who kicked it off. But Tomkins is really dense and pretty hard to consume. And so Frank and Wilson go through and make the Tomkins, the initial Tomkins affect collection or book, more digestible. It's very interesting. I got to speak to one of my mentors on, I think I met with her on Thursday. It's Dr. Lisa Hollenbach. Just a brilliant woman, just a phenomenal person. I totally adore her. And she's read a lot of this work too. And so we were talking about that, and it was really fun. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I also read poetry collections. I finished, I think, 4 or 5. So I can go over those later. I'm trying to think of any really stuck out to me. I also finished Wild by Design by Laura Martin last week, or a week and a half ago, which I was correct. I don't know if I finished that on my last movie, but that book really is more like historical context than I think I would actually use it. Like if I came across something historical that I needed to reference outside of the theoretical, like the hard theory, and I needed to know what was going on in America at that time regarding the environmental and ecological knowledge, then I would probably refer back to Martin. But beyond that, I don't know if I would. Let's see. I read Ed Roberson. Christopher Kenny. Aracelis, Girmay, and then LaPointe, Sasha LaPointe. Sasha LaPointe was phenomenal, by the way. She wrote Rose Quartz. She's a newer poet. She's a native poet. I'm not going to mislocate her, so I'm going to look it up before I say where her location is. It is on, I believe, in the PNW, but I don't remember which tribe she's from, so I'll make sure that I look that up before I say that. But Rose Quartz was phenomenal. I really liked how she navigated through the work and on the page, and it was just, she's a really good author. Highly recommend LaPointe. I bought that book at the AWP in Seattle in 2022, and I'm so glad I did. Plus the cover's beautiful. It's just a well-designed book. But yeah, so I finished 4 poetry collections last week, which that was all pretty much in 2 days. I didn't do a whole lot on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, because Friday went out, or Thursday went out. Friday I was sick all day. Saturday I was recuperating. Yesterday I was still recuperating. I think that my body, anyway, I didn't drink that much on Thursday, but my body was just like, nope, not gonna do it. But I don't drink that much often, So that's probably why. Anyway, we're gonna start going. We're gonna get through these 4 theoretical texts. I would like to finish them all today, so I might not do poetry today because I want to finish these. If I'm behind on poetry, it's okay. I'm not super worried about it. If I get behind on theory, I start to panic. So yeah, we're gonna finish these theoretical texts, and I will do my best to post this video later today. Okay, so I have finished the Silvan Tomkins Handbook by Franken Wilson, and I also finished Ordinary Affects by Kathleen Stewart. This book is great. This book provides a comprehensive understanding of Silvan Tomkins, which I kind of went over earlier, and I just found some really excellent areas, some really good chapters in this to connect to my research of poetry and craft, my research in craft and everything. So that was really fun. I'm really excited to utilize this book. This is another book that's going to be pertinent to my exams, I already know. This book was really interesting because Stewart utilizes scenes which Tomkins utilized when he was writing his affect work, I guess, his research. When he was drafting all his research, he utilizes scenes specifically to invoke affect, and that's what Stewart does in this collection of work. What's really interesting is Stewart doesn't mention Tomkins at all. And I think that's really fascinating. Oh, and it was Spinoza who's mentioned in the Tomkins reader. So Spinoza's the other affect theorist. But I think affect theory feels a little disjointed in who references who in terms of previous theorists. So I'm gonna have to dig into that. I feel that like there's drama somewhere among there, which happens in literature, happens all the time in creative writing, which is great. I mean, great for us, like as readers of the future to the past, you know? Like, I'm sure, again, if you're a creative writer, you probably know this, but the drama between like Hemingway and Fitzgerald, and the drama between, I believe it was it Mina Loy and Ezra Pound? It was the Imagist poets. I think it was Mina Loy. But there's always drama between creative writers, and it's kind of funny to read about. Well, it's funny to experience that through their work because there's shade that gets thrown in every which way, whether or not you pick up on it. But so I finished those 2 books. I've kind of broken today up into 2 hours of reading. I did 2 hours of work because I'm an associate editor at the Cimarron, so I needed to do work for that because now we're back on schedule. I did 2 hours of that, as well as responding to emails that I hadn't responded to since the end of last week. And then I did another 2 hours of reading, and now I am guest lecturing a poetry class this next week, and so I need to look at all of the material that the professor of the class sent me to build my lecture and activities and discussions around what that professor is expecting of that class. So I'm going to take the next few hours to do that, and then I will return to reading theory because I want to finish the transmission of affect today as well. I also, because I know that this book is going to be one of my pinnacle texts, I guess, I am not as worried about finishing the entirety of the transmission of affect. And I also have, three? I've got the Masumi text, I've got Greg and Siegeworth, I've got Berland, which she's a famous affect theorist. And it's not cruel optimism, just so everyone knows. It's on the inconvenience of other people. And then I have Hewen, who goes over affect in literature. And so that's like 4 more theorists. I think I have an article by Masumi as well. And then I don't know where my Jed Rasula text went. But I read about half of it, so I figure if I don't get to the rest of it, it's probably okay. I can only, 99 out of 100 books. Shit happens. But I'm sure I'll find it. I just don't know where it is. I've looked all over my house. I haven't left my house, so it might be at my desk on campus. But I thought I grabbed everything, so I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, that's about where I'm at. I feel really productive today, even though I'm sick. And my mom and I had some laughs. And yeah, good day. But yeah. So this will be concluding, oh man, what part was I on? I think this is part 15. It might be 16, but it is concluding whichever part it is at. And then I will see you guys next week.